Hi there, I'm Jodi Reinert. This is my Stamp with Jodi YouTube channel, and welcome to Season 6, Episode 9 of the Great North American Stampin' Show. I've got a fun card for you today. It's very duplicatable, something that I think would be very easy to do for your Christmas cards this year, but it's got a couple of fun techniques. There's 2 techniques I'm going to teach you with this card, and I think you're really going to like it. So after you watch my video, click through the 3 other links in my description right here, watch all 4 of us, and then go ahead and give your thumbs up vote to the video that you like the best this week. All right, sit back, relax, and enjoy. For today's episode, we are featuring design layouts from page 32 in the Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. So there's a few different card samples on these pages. These kind of all have the same layout. And then we have these 2. My eye was immediately drawn to this one right here. And you'll see those techniques that I mentioned. There's a watercolor wash in the background and also a splatter technique. So I'm going to show you how to do those. And I'm doing a monochromatic card. So the cardstock and ink are Shamrock today, as well as the little ribbon I'm using. And then I'm using the Ornamental Christmas Stamp set. So I like this one. It's got some like background elements, greetings, and then the tree that you would use either of these for like a focal point image. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to pull in this piece first. And by the way, all measurements are right here in the description, so you can look below for any measurements. This is some of our watercolor paper. I don't know if you can hear that, as opposed to, this is our thick basic white. This is our watercolor. You could tell by that sound it has some texture to it. And that's exactly what we want to do some watercoloring. So I'm going to take my Shamrock ink pad and I'm going to squeeze it. I'm just squeezing the lid onto the ink pad. It's a good little bicep exercise if you're looking to do a quick workout while you're crafting. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit more of a squeeze. Make sure we have lots of ink on there. All right, that's what I'm looking for. So I've got my little like palette of ink on the lid of the ink pad, and I'm going to pull in one of our water painters. If you don't have a water painter, you could use a small paintbrush to do this same exact technique. Now, I'm going to, this is filled, the barrel of this is filled just with water, and then it's got the nice brush end. So I'm going to squeeze this onto my watercolor paper. You'll see it's got a little bit of the Shamrock color just because I've already been playing with this. But I'm squeezing it on here and just kind of pushing the plain water around. I'm leaving a little bit of a border. I don't want it too close to the edges. I want a white border, but I'm just pushing the water. I think you can see it, just the light even reflecting in it. Now I'm gonna go back and pick up some of that ink and just kind of touch it onto the water. And this just kind of lets it spread out a little more naturally. And then I still kind of guide it and push it along, but it just gives that more washed out look. I'm going to show you another option. I just like this one better. So this is what I'm using for my card today. So I'm just guiding that ink in the water that's already on the watercolor paper. My edges will be irregular. I don't want them all to be exactly the same. I'm just pushing the water around like that. Okay, so this will take a little bit of time to dry. You can either just set it aside and let it air dry, or I'm gonna add just a little bit more down here. You can set it aside to air dry, or you could use your heat tool that you use for embossing and help that along. I want to show you another way to do it, just with another piece of the watercolor paper, and that is instead of squeezing the water on there initially, I'm actually gonna squeeze my ink pad a little bit more to get more ink there on the lid. Another way you can do it is just take your water painter, or like I said, your paintbrush, give it a little squeeze so that you have some water down in the tip, and then swirl it in the ink and just brush it across. You hear a little bit of noise this time, right? It's a little more, there's a little more friction just because that water wasn't initially put down on the watercolor paper. With this original one, it just kind of spread out naturally in the water, and covered the surface that I wanted to. Now I could, at this point, give it a little squeeze and let it blend a little bit more. But that's another way you could do it. And they do have a different look, right? This is a little more, I don't know if solid is the right word, a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out. Not necessarily defined. I should have the word and I just don't. All I can think of is to say is this one is more washed out looking. You don't necessarily see some of the individual brush strokes that you do in here. Does that make sense? Like you can see down in here. Either of them are really cool. They're just a little bit of a different appearance. I'm going to go with the wash one that I did first, where I put the water on the watercolor paper first and then added ink. This one was dry watercolor paper and we added the ink and water at the same time. So let me set that aside for a moment and pull in, let's see, I am going to close my ink pad so I have a better surface to stamp on. I'm going to use a layer of Shamrock cardstock as well. Now remember, I'm only using Shamrock, my only color, whether it's ink, ribbon, cardstock. That's the only color I'm using in addition to white. This is one of the images in that Ornamental Christmas stamp set, and I'm going to use it to just randomly stamp around the edges. Now, you might be thinking, oh, bless your heart, because that doesn't really look great. And if I was going to see all that mess, I would very much agree with you. But the thing is, we're not going to see it. I might want a little bit more there. So I just kind of added. Okay, so I've got that not really great looking chaos. But what I'm going to do is add this piece right over it. So now it's just a fun little border. So chaos, covered up, fun border, okay? All right, let's do a couple other things here. I've got a thick basic white card base. So I've scored that down the center at 4 1/4. And then I like to use my bone folder to get a nice crisp fold. I'll use my Stampin' Seal adhesive to attach this Shamrock layer that we're using as a border. So I'll just kind of center that here. And then let me see what I want to do next. I need to do a couple other things to this layer before we attach it to our card. Let me see. It looks almost dry. I'm going to do one other thing just to make sure it's dry. I'm going to pull in this piece of basic white and the greeting, one of the greetings from Ornamental Christmas, "'Tis the Season." And I'll ink that up and just stamp down here. And then I'm going to pull in one of our newer punches. The bundle is Sign Design. I think that's the actual name of the punch too. So I'm just going to set it in here. And what I like about it is that it's got that curved top and a straight edge bottom. Or I could have stamped it and punched it the other way and given it a curve on the bottom and a straight edge on top. Either way you want to do it, it's a pretty cool new punch. So I will use this as my greeting. I also want to pull in this tree image from the Ornamental Christmas. Now, what's cool about this is when I saw the branches and the like artwork on the branches, it kind of is what made me decide to do this around the border. Because when we put this on here, I think you could imagine that it's just like a bunch of pine needles in the background. So when we go ahead and stamp this tree on here in a minute, it's going to pull in that same design element. So I thought that was kind of fun. So you could use this image for so many things. I saw pine needles. I don't know. Do you see that? Do you see that connection? Maybe it's a stretch. I don't know, but I saw it. All right, so I'm inking up the tree. Got a little excess up on the top, so I'm hoping that does not come off on my project. And we'll just stamp that. Oh, good. Over on the edge there, you can see it's like, I don't know, like kind of bleeding into it a little bit. This might be a little bit damp still. So if you wanted a much more defined image, then just make sure this is 100% dry before you start. Either way, I'll show you another sample where I did let it dry longer and you can kind of compare and see which one you like better. One more time, I'm gonna go ahead and close this and squeeze the lid. If you recall, I was going to show you two techniques. One is the watercolor wash and the other one is an ink splatter. So I'm scooting my other stuff aside because this is something you definitely want to have scrap paper for. It's not crazy messy, but there's some overspray. So I squeezed my water painter again. I want a decent amount of water here. Picking up some ink, and then I'm just holding my finger and I want to tap the brush. Oh, I didn't get enough. There we go. I'm just tapping the brush on my finger. And there's so many variables with this. How hard you're tapping, how much ink you actually pick up, how high above versus close you go. There's a lot of variables and you can definitely play with them and see what you like the most for your project. It's just a fun little extra design element on there. Super easy to do. And like I said, with this monochromatic, I just love that this is all Shamrock, but it really looks differently, whether it's the watercolor wash, the splatter, or the stamped image. Kind of funny, you can see it must have been much drier down here because it kind of bled into the watercolor wash much more on the top as opposed to the bottom. It's all good. Like I said, if you want to make sure that bleeding part doesn't happen, but I actually think it looks kind of cool, you can just make sure that your piece is totally dry before you start. Okay, so you can see my little splatter overspray, which is why I recommended the scrap paper. When you use a water painter, just a little side tip, just kind of squeeze water and swipe back and forth. And that gets, the tip itself will be slightly discolored, but it gets the ink out and then you can use it with another color. So just a quick little cleaning tip. So I'm just kind of scooting the wet area up so that I have a dry area to work with right here. Okay, so what I want to do next is take some of my adhesive and just put some right over here. And then I'm going to take some Shamrock ribbon and just kind of do some loops of ribbon. So I'm going to press the ribbon down into the adhesive and then add just a little bit more here right on top of the ribbon and press this in. Okay. And then I'll take that little 'Tis the Season that I stamped earlier and put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. And we'll add this right, oh goodness, I grabbed two at once. I don't think I could do that again if I tried. And we'll add this right over the ribbon. So this is kind of like the background, like that looks a little crazy till we put this layer on. This ribbon looks a little crazy until we set this over it. So I'll just push those dimensionals down in. I wanted to do it up a little bit so I see some of that Shamrock on the bottom there. And then this whole layer I'm going to attach with Stampin' Dimensionals. I want this whole layer to be raised up. Because it's watercolor paper and it's holding a lot of ink, a lot of water, I'm being a little bit excessive on the number of Stampin' Dimensionals that I'm using. All right, now we pull it all together and add this right on the center of that background layer, like that. The last little thing I'm gonna do is pull in a little embellishment that's got, it's clear and it's got a little bit of gold flecks in there. It's from the Strawberry Slush ones. It'll be down in the supply list, so you can verify which one it is there. So this is what I have for you today. I'm gonna pull in my original sample because I did let it dry just a little bit longer. So you can see this is a more defined tree and this is a little more of a washed out tree. Either way you want to do it, I think it's a pretty darn cool card. And like I said, so duplicatable for your Christmas card this year. Maybe Shamrock isn't your color. Make it a red, make it a pink, purple, a blue, whatever you want to do. If you have some ribbon, cardstock, and ink that are all the same color, you can totally duplicate this card for your Christmas card this year. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this card. I hope it earns your thumbs up vote for this week. Like I said, make sure you click through and watch all 4 videos. Give your thumbs up vote to the one that you like the most and let me know what you think of this card. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.